Well, as you know, we're Randy and Joan Bell. We are originally from New Mexico, so we are from the western side of the United States. And first of all, before I say anything else, I just want to thank you, Randy and I both want to thank you so much, not only for having us in your church, to be able to share with you what the Lord is doing in Slovenia, but also to thank you for giving to the cooperative program of the Southern Baptist Convention and the Lottie Moon Christmas offering, because that is what keeps us in Slovenia. That's how we can stay and live and share the gospel with those around us and plant churches and build the kingdom of Christ there through his spirit, of course, not in our own power. But we just want to thank you for that. As I said, we are originally from New Mexico, and Randy and I have served on the field with the International Mission Board for 27 years. We were 2 years in Thailand as journeymen, if any of you have heard of that program, and that was BC, before children. And so we were there 2 years, and then came back, went to seminary at Southwestern in Texas, and then went back to the field with 2 little girls, and one of those is here today with her little girl. Our middle daughter and her husband and our second granddaughter are here today. So, but we went back overseas. Lydia was a year old, and our oldest daughter was 3 when we went to Serbia. And we served in Serbia for 5 years. We went during the Bosnian War, it finished, and then we evacuated when the Kosovo crisis happened. And our youngest daughter was born there, Lizzie. She was born in Belgrade. And then the Lord called us to Slovenia, and we've been there 20 years now. And the Lord has just brought us along this journey that we never, ever imagined we would go on. And so we would just like to share with you a little bit about what God is doing in Slovenia. But before we do that, I'd like to show you our family. On that thumb drive back there, I have the next slide. There you go. This is our oldest daughter over here, Bethany, and her husband, Aaron, and our granddaughter, Cadence, and she was born June 7th. And then, of course, Lydia and Liam are here. And you can't see Shay in that picture because she's snuggled with Liam right there in a snuggly. That was up at Table Rock just last week. So you guys know where that's at in Boise, right?
First hike.
Yeah, Shay's first hike. And then this is Randy and I with our youngest daughter, Lizzie.
I don't know why I'm doing that. Okay, that's not normal.
But on the your far right, that's our youngest daughter, Lizzie, who is now in Germany, and she is serving at her former high school as a member care. She's kind of member care to the students there, just to support the students in at Black Forest Academy in Kondern, Germany. So that's what she is doing. So anyway, that's our family. But the next slide are our 2 granddaughters.
Now this is gold. This is gold, right?
This is Cadence over here on your left. And like I said, she was born June 7th. And this is Shay right here. She was laying out along the beach in the sand. Just chilling. So those are our 2 precious granddaughters.
We're still learning to be grandparents. We're not mature enough yet, but we're getting there.
Anyway, we don't have a map for you, and I wished I had done a map. But do any of you know where Slovenia is? Oh, yeah, well, of course. Well, and I'm sorry. I wanted to introduce, we have another missionary kid here with us. This is Janessa, and Janessa's, Jacqueline, I'm sorry. Jacqueline's parents, her sister's Janessa. Jacqueline's parents serve with us in Slovenia, and they have been there, they've probably been the longest serving missionaries in Slovenia that are currently there. So, and this is her family, her husband, and her 2 daughters. So we're really grateful that they're here today, and they're living in Nampa. So. And her brother's there too. So we have all kinds of Slovenia missionary kids around here.
Check on what we say if it's true.
Yeah, you can just ask them afterwards if what we say is accurate.
Hello, test.
Is it on?
Sorry about
Okay.
that. My fault.
Anyway, Slovenia, if you don't know, is located, it's in Central Europe. It was part of the former Yugoslavia, if that gives you an idea. It was the northernmost republic of Yugoslavia. And so it is located just south of Austria. We have 42 or 37 kilometers of coastline. I think it's 42 kilometers of coastline on the Adriatic Sea. And south of us is Croatia. To the east is Hungary. So those are the bordering, if that gives you an idea of where it's at. It's a very small country, population of only 2 million, but it is very unchurched. It is a Catholic nation by culture and name, but of course, most people are lost. So there are only 0.01% of the population are believers, are born again believers. So between 1,500 and 2,000 people are born again. So that's why we're there, because it's the 14th least reached country in the world. And we just have a real heart, of course, to see these people come to know Christ. And it is not easy. It's a beautiful country. A lot of people call it Little Switzerland. And you'll see pictures in the video. It's very beautiful, very mountainous, and a gorgeous place to live. So that's really a blessing. That's kind of eye candy, as we say. But it is, I was going to share something else, and I can't remember. But those are about the statistics of it. So,
Yeah, the unfortunate thing too is that suicide rate there is one of the highest in the world. One of their own poets or writers of the Slovene, cultural background, has a story about a farmer sitting on up in the beautiful Alps, and he's on a rock and he's crying, and God puts his hand on his shoulder, and the man looks up into God's face, and God looks down into his face, and God starts crying. God's like, "Oh, you're Slovene." So the kind of the fatalistic idea that there's no help for us, and that's why we're there to share
no
the hope of Christ with them.
Yeah, I feel like there's no hope. But yeah, it does rank, unfortunately, in the top 5 every year in the highest suicide rates in the world. So that's another reason to pray for these people, to find the hope of Christ, because that's their only hope. That's their only hope. So at this time, we would like to share a video with you. We had 4 interns come from New Mexico this summer, and one of them got his degree in graphic design and media, and he did this video for us. So we would like to share this with you, just to give you a taste of what the work is like, what the people are like, and just to see some of the beautiful scenery and some of the people. That gives you a little bit. And Jacqueline's parent, well, her dad was in that. I don't know. Did you catch your dad? Picture your dad in there? Okay. We would like to share a song with you in the language, and you'll probably recognize this song. Luč si za svet, ker je tema si zarja, luč, ki odpira oči. Luč in lepota srce te proslavlja, s tabo se ne izgubi. Tu sem, da te hvalim, da se ti poklonim, da ti rečem, Bog in moj Gospod. Zame si edini, neizmerno vreden, Jezus moj prijatelj čudovit. Kralj si zase, a se čašćenje pozdignjen, slavi nebeški živiš. Skromen prišel si na zemljo z ljubezni, Bog, ki postal je ubog. Tu sem, da te hvalim, da se ti poklonim, da ti rečem, Bog in moj Gospod. Zame si edini, neizmerno vreden, Jezus moj prijatelj čudovit. Moj Bog, kakšno plačal si, da na križ moj greh je bil pribit. Moj Bog, kakšno ceno plačal si, da na križ moj greh je bil pribit.
Tu sem da te falim, da te ti poklonim, da ti rečem Bogin moj Gospod, za me si jedini, neizmerno vreden, Jezus moj prijatelj, čudovit. What time is it? I want to go overboard too much here. So we got a little time. We got a little time. Okay, just go ahead, Pastor Richard. You know, you said at the beginning, have we met somewhere? I seem to know you, and it just clicked, Richard, what it is. It's Jesus in you and Jesus in me. So we have met before. Okay, if you like, please turn with me to Romans chapter 3. This is not going to be a long message. This is not my forte, preaching per se. Joan and I are church planners. We love being on the front line. We love being where there's no church. We love being in a place to where people need to hear the gospel. And I love the theme today. Thank you for the songs that prepare us for this moment, because and what really spoke to me, and then one of the brothers already shared this morning, the lethargy, how we have to fight against that. Every morning we wake up, we have to decide, am I going to serve the Lord or am I going to serve myself? Right? Even as Christians. And how we take things for granted in a specific way. Maybe you've been a Christian all your life. Maybe you're a new Christian. I don't know you. I know it's exciting to get to be here together with you today. This means a lot to us. Our churches in Slovenia are very small. But you know what? They're strong. And they seek to serve the Lord. And it's not important if there's 10 or 20 or 100. Be faithful to the end. That's my challenge for you. And sometimes we passed the Mormon church coming down here, and my heart was heavy. I mean, I just saw, hundreds of people. It seemed like a big church. And I know we're in an area where the Mormon church is fairly strong. I have a brother that's a Mormon, so I struggle with that too. That the deception is real, folks. Satan is real. And we need to pray for these people, that God will open their eyes to the truth. So, what has God saved us from, and then what has he saved us to? That's just a quick point I want to point out today. What has he saved you from? What has he saved you to? And what do I mean by that? We're talking about lethargy. Lethargy. We talked about this with my son-in-law yesterday. How do you say that word properly? Lethargy. We talked about that yesterday. And how do we save ourselves from this as Christians? And then I think we forget, or I have, honestly, what would my life be without Jesus? Have you ever thought about that? Where would you be without Jesus Christ today? And why, by his grace, did he choose you and choose me? Did he save us for, I call it, to the point of where we just become traditional Baptist members of a church. I have, my family I attend every week, go to prayer meeting, go to Bible study. But if Jesus is really in your life, folks, guess what? People are going to notice. If Jesus is the Lord of your life, you don't have to worry about being an evangelist or a witness. Guess what? You are automatically. People say, well, I'm not trained to be a missionary. I'm not a pastor. I'm just a layman. I do this and do that. I said, well, if Jesus is in your life, folks, guess what? It's automatic, natural. It should just flow out of you. All right? So this passage is not a very encouraging passage, but it's an important one. I want to share with you this morning out of chapter 3. What has he saved us from, and what has he saved us to, and where in the world are the people around us going without Christ? Okay? Look at, let's see, chapter 3, verses 9. We're going to read through 18 actually. Well then, are we Jews better than the others? No, not at all. For we have already shown that all people, whether Jew or Gentile, are under the power of sin. As the scriptures say, no one has a real understanding. No one is seeking God. All have turned away from God. All have gone wrong. No one does good, not even one. Their talk is foul, like the stench from an open grave. Their speech is filled with lies. The poison of a deadly snake drips from their lips. Their mouths are full of cursing and bitterness. They are quick to commit murder. Wherever they go, destruction and misery follow them. They do not even know what true peace is. They have no fear of God in them. Now, what about us as Christians first? I want to give that perspective, then give the worldly perspective, and then I'm going to close with a little testimony from what God is doing in Slovenia. What does it mean to fear God, folks? What does it mean to fear God? Someone say, well, are we afraid of him? Is he scary? Do I need to worry? What does God-fearing mean, folks? Someone help me. What does God-fearing mean? Do we as Christians fear God? Do you tremble with the thought that one day you will stand before him? Do you even think about it? Oh yeah, God is loving. He is gracious. He is all that. But what does it mean when I say he is righteous? I mean, are you ready to look upon him? Because one day you will. I know by Jesus and the blood he shed for me, I don't fear to stand before God, even though I know it's going to be a moment of trembling. But where in the world are we today when Christians don't fear God anymore? When there's no concern about, well, to each his own way. Whatever they choose, that's their choice. You know, standing up for the truth, folks, is not an easy thing. And maybe you've dealt with it. In my own family, I have. And we're just so offended by every little thing that's said. You can't offend me. Or I shouldn't try to offend me. I have to walk on eggshells. I need to be careful what I say. But I don't know about you. Jesus is not he's kind of like Aslan of the Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe. Very beautiful, magnificent. And boy, if I was face to face with a lion at a zoo and I was inside the cage with him, I don't think we have that fear of God anymore, folks, even as believers. To where people, like the song said, are dying and going to hell every moment. Does that prick your heart at all? Does that spur you to say, okay, Jesus, I don't know how, I don't know where, I don't know what, but if you can use me today to touch someone's life, I'm ready. Please use me. Across the street from this church, across the river to Oregon, I don't care. Wherever you're at, or wherever you're at the job, at home, please do not lose the fear of God, the respect and love for him that we need to have to share. But then look at the world for a second. Do you see the fear of God in the world around you, the people around you who are not believers? This is a sad thing. In Slovenia, you can talk about God all you want. Their Catholic background, they understand God, but boy, when you talk about Jesus, something stirs their spirit. Have you seen that? Have you ever noticed that? When you talk about Jesus specifically, it's like, this is a tough one. The world has lost the fear of God, dear folks. We've seen that around us with homosexuality, with abortion. It's commonplace. Every time I watch a program now in the States, it seems like there's a homosexual element that just has to be there because you don't want to offend them. Are we standing up for the truth? In closing, then, just a short story about a little boy named Kenan that came to our Bible school this year. And it's interesting because we had these 4 interns from New Mexico, and one of them's African American, or grew up in, well, actually born in Nigeria, but then came to the States and now is a citizen of America, and he's a basketball player. He's really good. And so anyway, they went to the park, started playing in the park in our little city, and Kenan met Larry, and he just fell in love with Larry. He just loved him. Just thought, this guy's hung the moon. And Larry used this opportunity just to share a little bit. And Kenan, I don't know, how old, 10? 10 years old, came to our Bible school. But guess what? There's a little something different about Kenan. His mom and dad are Muslim. Okay? Now, in our country, we have, majority are Slovene, but in our city that we work in, it's a coal mine city. And so all from the former Yugoslavia came to work in this city because of the coal mine. So we have Albanians, Croatians, we have Slovenes, Serbians, we have Bosnian Muslims. And his mom and dad are Muslim. And I remember at the beginning of the week where he said, you know, because we had Bible verses that we're trying to teach them, to memorize them. And he said, and then he was like saying, I'm Muslim. And he was kind of a little bit inhibited about the Bible story. Even I was doing the Bible story. And he said, you know, my favorite part's the recreation, but I'll have to just sit through the Bible study. That was his attitude. Okay? Got to meet his mom and his dad at the sports night, which was great, because they loved Larry too. And we said, well, Joan had asked the mother, said, well, just in case, you need to know that we're teaching Bible stories at our camp. And she said, oh, well, we have Bible stories too, or similar to that from our Quran. And so Joan said, we just want you to know so that you understand what we're doing. And she said, no problem. On Thursday, we had a 5-day camp, and on Thursday, Kenan, in the middle of Bible study, says, I want to follow Jesus. And I was looking at him, and I said, okay. He said, my dad told me that, son, whatever you choose to do, I support you. And because we were talking about the love of Jesus and why Jesus died. And he says, I want to follow Jesus. So we told his mother the next day, and she was very supportive. But why do I share all this? Because of the hope of Christ that he offers in a world that our people are hungry. And all we have to do is be talking about him. All we have to do is be sharing about him and let the Lord do the work. There was an author of one of my favorite books besides the Bible. It's called Ragamuffin Gospel. I don't know if you've heard this. But the man, Brendan Manning, who wrote this book, said that we're so caught up in the West that it's important that we're just fulfill tasks. We have to do projects. We have to do events. We have to do something, and these are important. I'm not saying they're not important, but he says we forgot how to be in Jesus because we're so busy doing for Jesus. And that opened my eyes, folks, to something very important. I learned that if you're being in Jesus, naturally, he'll do through you miracles that you'll never believe. But we're so busy doing. So my challenge as we close today is be in Jesus and let him do through you miracles that you would just say, thank you, Lord. Because I didn't expect in this little Bible study, we're just talking about the Bible story, about what Jesus did and why he came and why he died on the cross, why he gave his life for you, and what a sinner is. And then I asked Kenan, I said, would you like to pray with me? And so we prayed a prayer together, and he followed my lead in a prayer, confessing sin, trusting in Jesus, following him, and at the end of the prayer he says, I felt Jesus. Okay, we can't base everything on feelings. I understand that. But he says, I felt Jesus in this moment right now. And how exciting it is that God can work through simple things. A 10-year-old Muslim boy who needed to hear about Jesus. And it's because of you we have that opportunity. It's because of you giving that we can be there representing Jesus Christ to the world. So thank you, folks. Thank you, Pastor Richard. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Sure. In closing, this is just some opportunities for you as a church, what you can do to help engage in the work that we're doing. And, of course, the first one is very simple, and you guys I know are already doing this. Your church can engage by praying and giving. We do have a prayer card that I gave your pastor. If there's not enough, we have more. Facebook, it's updated even more often. So if you're a Facebook person, I am. My wife is some. I am more. I admit it. Because we use it as a great tool of ministry. Then if you want to be our Facebook prayer partners, we'd love to have you. The next one is we equip your people through training and resources. If there's, if you're Pastor Richard, if there is an interest for you to engage a people group like our Slovene people, then we can help with this opportunity to say, what can we do more to train ourselves to be more focused, not just in our community, but in the world. And then, as Joan and I have hosted, I don't know how many groups of volunteers, but we've had hundreds of people come to Slovenia in these last years. We're church planners, but we do discipleship, we do prayer walking, we do literature distribution, we do miracle counseling, we do parental counseling, we do all kinds of things that help engage people for the gospel. If you're interested in coming, we can also work with you in that aspect.